Welcome to True Print for Life. I'm your host, Christina Vera.
And I'm your co-host, Maylin Sambois.
Welcome back to another episode of True Print for Life. We're really excited just to be able to connect and see how you're doing. I know, feels like, I don't know, I think today is obviously, by the time you hear this, it'll probably be a little later in the month, but today is actually November the 1st, which is crazy to think about, just like how quickly time is going. Yesterday was just October, and today on my way here, I saw them putting up like this massive Christmas tree near your house.
No way.
And it's just like how quickly everything is changing so fast. And it made me to start thinking about like, you know, just like if you're not intentional just to pause and reflect on life, career, all the things, like it will switch over. Whether you're ready for it or not, it will switch. And so I started to think about today, it was like, okay, I got to start thinking about what I want to do in the next couple of months, and then ultimately like what I want to think about going into the new year. And it's not always has to be for me. Like in years past, it's always been pretty like work centered, like goal centered, which it still will be. Like I have goals, as you know, but
yes,
I'm also thinking about like just like in general, like next year I'm turning 40, which is a really big deal. Why do you laugh?
Because, guys, she talks about 40 like it's a death sentence.
It's not a death sentence. I'm thankful to be turning 40, but I am turning 40. Like you've been 40 for a while, so you've had time to process.
First of all, a while.
I have not had time to process.
Let's
rephrase
rephrase that word. A while. Like I'm 45. I am 41. I think. Am I 42 now? Wait, let me do the math.
You're about to be 43.
Am I? Guys, yes. I'm so like hot. Like I don't even think about this.
Okay. Which is still really young. So it's, you know, it's not a thing. But I mean, I'm just now entering like my 40s.
Oh, yeah. I'm 42.
Yes.
So it's been, you know, guys, but let me tell you, when you get here, I can't wait for her to get here because she's like this few months, she's like, she says she may not be dreading, she's dreading. But when she gets here, like, I don't know what happens. The liberation, especially where you're going to be on your birthday. Girl, bye.
I know. I can't wait.
But go ahead. Continue with your inner thoughts.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm just ready for like, but I was listening to a sermon, a podcast. So I listen to podcasts in the car a lot. And it's so funny because like the way my podcast is set up in my phone, I'll start off with whatever podcast I'm initially listening to, and then our podcast comes on right after. So it's just like it bumps for some reason. So this podcast was a TD Jakes podcast, and he was talking about his main message was tomorrow belongs to God, and stop stressing so much about like the next thing or where you want to be, you know, because at the end of the day, tomorrow belongs to God. And so just like being more like in the moment, having, you know, trust and belief in whatever God's plan is, recognizing that, right, you have to work it and you have to be intentional about not taking the opportunities and spaces and seasons for granted. But his message was like, tomorrow belongs to God. So don't let the enemy of worry consume you so much so that you are robbing yourself of just being of peace and having, you know, the opportunity to enjoy where you are. And so that was a sermon I heard. And then one of our episodes kicked in right after. And it was the communications episode we had. And so it was just so like interesting because in that episode we were talking about like just, you know, and the importance of open communication and just assuming that, you know, people know certain things or they don't know certain things. And so it was interesting because I was like, I connected both of those messages with tomorrow belongs to God, but I also need to be intentional about changing certain dynamics so that when that tomorrow comes, I'm at my optimal self and I'm creating optimal experiences for other people as well, because their tomorrow also will come. And if I'm a part of that, if you're a part of that, or for you that's listening is a part of that, like, how do you want to contribute to somebody's tomorrow?
That's deep.
Yeah.
So. I'm going to take a breath. She came in deep today.
It was just happened to be like a back-to-back thing, and I was like, so because it's not always about us, right? Like I mean, it is in a lot of ways. It's like, okay, these messages for us, but I think when you're in the sphere of like service and helping and building and leading, whether it's your household, corporations, like whatever, you also play a part in other people's lives. And so it's just like, how are we creating space and opportunity to be mindful of making sure, are you giving your staff the space and the opportunity to also be present and to go spend time with their families and not stressing them at 5 a.m. or 4 a.m. with emails or text messages, or like it can't always be like you can't ask for what you're not giving.
Oh, well, yes, and that's a hard one, right? Because some of us can give that, but expecting that of some of our staff or loved ones who cannot give that is hard, And I think it's taken me a while to get that because I don't like the word workaholic, right? But I do, I can't go late and early, right? And it's not like, it's good or bad. I think it's just part of my process, which I'm working on. But I had to learn that people are not everybody's able to be like you.
Mm-hmm.
And not everybody's able to do what you do. But it's to your point, because I've been listening to some things too, is how do you motivate people to be their best so they can give the best of themselves and not like force their best, right? Because I think, one, being Dominican, two, being, a strong woman, like I feel sometimes like we feel like we have to demand certain things from people and they could give it to you for a period of time, but it will not be sustainable because that is not in their core. So it's like there's a fine balance between holding people accountable, allowing them the space to be present, right? But then also inspiring them and empowering them to be the best self, so then they can do the best, and then you don't have to force it. It's just actually something that they want to do. They want naturally to contribute this way, and I've seen both. I've seen some people in our teams that do that and are able and not able to handle it well, and some people that don't do that. And then is the load being carried equally among people, right? So that's also something as a team that you have to figure out, like, as a team, are your employees, holding the right amount of work, or are they taking on too much because if they don't, somebody won't do it, stuff like that. So it's just a constant thing. But I think it starts with us. I do love the fact that you are reflecting about that. I love the fact that you're thinking about your personal life because, you're coming to be 40 and you're coming out with some things.
It's not just because I'm turning 40. Like, I think about these things all the
every
time.
year, yes. But this year seems a little more intentional, which is fine. I think, I'm sure when I go to my 50s, I don't think I will. Who am I kidding? But
you don't even know how old you are now. You're not even gonna remember. You're gonna be like, wait, what?
For the longest I was 31, and I'm like, I think I said it for 3 years. I said, well, I can't be 31 again.
No.
So it took me a while to realize I was like 33, 34, and today was a really great example that I don't keep track like that because to me, age is important. I'm grateful for where I am, but I see my grandmother's like almost 95, 96. I have family that had lasted to 121. So I'm praying that I get to be old, older enough to enjoy life at an older age. So that's why I guess I don't keep track so much of life. And then also of my age, I should say. And then at any given point, right, God's the one that has ultimate control. But to your point is, what are we doing if tomorrow belongs to God and we don't know if that tomorrow will come? Mm-hmm. So what are we doing, right, today to ensure that we have a great tomorrow?
Yeah. And I'm gonna have to send you this sermon. I don't think I sent you this one, but he talked about Jezebel in that sermon, and he said that that she, part of what Scripture talked about her, that she was kind of like, she kind of imposed the spirit of worry upon one of the people that he was talking about in the sermon, and he was talking about like what are you, he wanted the folks that were listening to think about like things that you're worrying about. And are those things that you're worried about, or was there a messenger that made you worried about those things? And he said you have to be mindful of like, we talk about energy a lot all the time, but there was something like around just kind of understanding that around that same theme of like tomorrow belongs to God. It's like there's constant messages all over the place of worrying about the cost of this, or the election, or there's just constant worry being put in every possible platform. And he talked about that in the Bible. It talks a lot about just this like and he said when you are constantly in this state of worry, it also counteracts being able to have faith, because it's like, can you have faith and constantly be worried at the same time? It's like you can't. I mean, I know
Both
we
can
try.
coexist.
Yeah, you try, right? Because it's like, oh, you want to have faith that this is going to work out, but then you have all these situations in your mind all the time that may never even happen. And I remember the guy that you brought in, the mindfulness guy, Juan. He talked about that like in one of his mindfulness workshops, the very first one. He talked about how many people are like physically become ill because of the amount of anxiety about worrying about things that never will happen. And so it was so interesting when, like hearing this sermon, and it talks about like this, like just in the Bible, there were people that like would go around and just like put all this stuff out to folks. And so there was a guy that he was talking about in the Bible who like literally was like, God, just take me now, because he couldn't deal with the anticipation of what she was saying. And so it's just like thinking about like just how we're constantly in this state of like worrying about, and not that some of it's not valid, but it's just like.
But that's the media though, like the media, what I have heard, like even the news, like you actually, to see positive news, you actually have to type, show me positive news, because you will get like what sells is scary.
Yeah.
It's like why is Halloween so popular, right? Like so you have to be intentional about seeking positive news, because the negative news are there so much. The same thing, like negative thoughts will come thousands at a rush to you, but you have to counter them with positive. That's why I have an app. I have an app that actually, I think every hour or so, it shoots me out of affirmation. Because sometimes I'm like, I'm thinking about this, and I see the affirmation app like, hey. And it's actually exactly what I need to hear, just like a little, pep on my step. So it is something you have to be intentional about. And because the news are they're so intentional about instilling fear to really catch your attention. Because if you're fearful, then you're watching all the time. Because if you're not fearful, why are you watching this all the time? That's why I don't watch news. You hardly watch news.
Yeah.
You do stay up to speed on things because you have to. But right now, even with this election, like I'm doing my best not to be consumed by it. Because I'm like, I can't be consumed. I know what I got to do. I got to vote. I'm going to encourage people to vote. And at the end, like tomorrow belongs to God. So that's actually how I'm going to go with that. Like I'm going to do my best. Everybody should do their best. And at the end, regardless of who's on power, God's on power. So I need him to take tomorrow, right? Because otherwise, these people here are about to start a civil war. We don't even know what the election results are going to be.
Yeah.
And they're getting ready for it. You know what I mean? Like they're literally getting ready for it.
Yeah. I love how you said like it's important to be aware, but not to be consumed.
Yeah. Don't let it affect. I know it can affect you, but not infect you.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I try to use. Like you can let it. You can be aware. You should know certain things, especially for our positions of where we are, who we serve. Like we have to know what's going on, but we can't let it consume us and infect us that way, because then we'll get sick.
Yeah, right. It's so true. And I think that as the years go by, you just continue to start to think more and more about, what does bring you joy, and how often do you get to do that, and how often do you get to just sit in that. And, they always ask that $1 million question: if money wasn't an option, what would you be doing? And it's like, the reality is I would be doing some of what I'm doing now, but I wouldn't be doing it every day.
Yeah, I'll be on a beach. If you ask me, I'll be doing a lot of what I do on the beach.
Yeah, I would still be doing most of what I'm doing. Yes. But it just would be like a little bit different. Like you said, I probably would be, more remote. Yeah, so it's just like I know that's how I know we are in our purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely not a money thing.
Yeah, it's
So,
not. It's
yeah.
funny because people do ask that, and I'm like, well, I mean, if we don't love it, we won't do it.
Yeah.
Like, because you can get money many different ways.
Mhm.
But I feel like everything that we do has a purpose. And it
Yeah.
just has a time. For many things, it has a time
Yeah.
of how long, you are to be in that purpose. And I think sometimes recognizing how long your time is to be in that purpose is the difficult thing.
Yeah.
Trusting God, but also keeping reality, right? Because, for example, for entrepreneurs, I keep hearing, just take the jump, just jump, do it. And then somebody comes out and be like, yeah, well, hold up. And that's me. I'm that other person that comes in and be like, you can jump, pero have a plan, because, you can, and I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs struggle. You can have a lot of passion and you can have a lot of purpose, but if you don't have a plan and you don't have, how you're going to pay that mortgage every month, you're not going to be able to do your purpose, because now you're stressed about not being able to make your ends meet. Your family may lose the things that you work so hard to get. So you have to, it's a hard balance, I think, to have. It's possible, but it does come with a plan and it does come with time. So I hear that all the time. And now more and more people are like, entrepreneurship is not for everybody. And I was like, you're right. It's not for everybody, right? Like, some people are not meant to be entrepreneurs. It doesn't mean that they're not talented. It doesn't mean that they're not good. Some people cannot handle the pressures of not having or managing a team, or having to be the sole responsible for everything, So not everybody could do it, but I feel like if you want to do it, you should give it a try.
Yeah.
But it's not really for everybody. Some people feel guilty about they just want to work a 9 to 5. And I'm like, you shouldn't feel guilty. You should love that. If that's what you love, it brings you joy, do that.
Right.
And I don't like the people that make people feel guilty about that.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I know plenty of people who are like, they love their 9 to 5, they want to clock in, they want to clock out. And I think that that's wonderful, because that's what the world, everybody has a contribution. And so everybody can't suddenly just quit their jobs and go be a freelancer. Like, that's just not realistic. And that's not how that's why we have so many staffing shortages in so many industries right now. There has been this like hyped up almost like a presentation of what entrepreneurship really is. And very few folks are really honest and raw about like just the struggle that it is. And so people are quitting, jobs left and right, or leaving industries with no real plan. And, and some make it. And so this is not a deter to not do that. If that's what you really feel like in your heart you want to do it. But do it because that's what you really feel like you're ready and prepared and willing to do. And you're willing to commit, like on days that it's good and days that it's hard, and that discipline is there. But having a structured career in corporate America, or the healthcare, being a teacher, being, a bricklayer, like being a welder, like those jobs are so essential and so critically important to the fabric of the world. And so like, don't think that those are just careers that don't matter anymore, because they do matter. And so even as entrepreneurs, there are days where we're, constantly thinking about, what, like, how long do I do this for? And, or what could I be doing if I wasn't doing this? And, financially. And it's interesting because not too long ago, and I didn't tell you this.
Oh, here we go, guys. Let's listen.
I won't tell you this.
No, please tell me. Actually, I want the audience to hear this, please, because I like when she brings me like new stuff to the podcast.
At least, I bring her simple things. Maylin always brings me life-altering things. So I bring her little things, like little like bite-sized things that I actually like. I think about it before before it actually becomes a thing. I'm like, yeah, I didn't do it, so don't worry about it. Maylin brings me like, so this whole thing is about to happen. And I'm like, oh, got it. So this was just so.
But see, when she's talking like this, it's not like a little thing.
It was a little kind of medium thing. It wasn't a big thing. It was like little to medium.
Let's all write that down, and then let's assess it after she shares what she has to say. Go ahead.
So basically, I was trying to think about, like, I have my set income for my set expenses. And then I was thinking to myself, if I wanted to be able to do some other things investment-wise, recognizing that I would, where would that money need to come from, right? Like, it's not going to just fall out the sky. I don't ever assume that. Like, I'm a realist to a degree. And so I was just like, so what I could do, I can, maintain what I do on a day to day. And then I could try to do something in the evenings.
Oh, if we had not tried this before, I'd be like,
I
yeah, no,
know.
go ahead.
It had been a while though.
Yeah,
I go through this
it's still the
every
same
few
result,
years.
but please go ahead and give me the end of this
every few years, I go through this same exact thought, like, okay. Because in my mind, I really think I'm like an octopus. I think I could do all these things because I have all these hands. And it's like, like, I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's like, I'm also like, I really think I can do it. So it's never like a thing of like.
Could you do it? Yes.
Yes.
Have you done it?
Yes.
Where we at?
Yes. And so, but it came, this is what it came down to why I declined.
Oh, thank God.
Because so I went through a whole process and I was given an opportunity.
Of course. That is not the problem ever.
And I'm so grateful because it also told me like, if it ever needed to happen, it could happen. And so
I could have told you that.
I was just, so then they were like, they gave me a date and I was like, that's really not going to work for me. And they were like,
what?
What? Like, do you want this or not? And I'm like, I do, but I really need it to be this.
Oh, I need so much more information after this. After we're done recording.
Yes. And so then I was like, then I started to talk to a couple people.
Not me.
No, I didn't talk to you yet.
I wonder why.
I didn't want to stress you because I knew what you was gonna say already.
I wonder why.
Because I knew what you were gonna say, and I didn't want to stress you. And so I was like,
you didn't want to hear the truth.
No, it wasn't that. I just was like, in my mind, I was like, let me just think about this because but then, and because I didn't even tell Ken.
Oh my God.
Ken found out about it like in the final phase.
In the fight, before the opportunity was presented?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And he was just like, are you crazy?
Absolutely. If he said you were crazy, I can only imagine what this was.
He had no idea. And he never tells me no.
Especially for this.
Yeah, he was like, because he was also partly with like all the new things. I kept, he had me not going back to the worry, right? Because, he's also a worrier. Like,
he's very cautious.
He's very cautious. And so he was just like, all these new things, da-da-da-da. So I'm like, okay, so maybe I got it. So I between listening to that.
You misread what he said.
No, I knew exactly what he said. He told me a lot of things. And I was like, I started to panic.
We need to have a conversation.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And so then I was like, okay. So, but then when I told him about this, he was like, no. He was like, no. He's like, you can't do that. And I said, but it'll be in the evenings. It'll be out the way. It's not a problem. He said, you're going to do all this and drop all the balls that you're managing right now. And I was like, no, so I'm trying to explain to him, basically, I valued what he said, but it ultimately ended up coming down to talking to, my sister, one of my sisters. And she was just, and so, but what sealed it ultimately for me is when we went to see America Fiera a couple weeks ago.
Wow. This is like this. Yeah, you know what? It's okay because I've been guilty of certain things. So I'm not going to speak.
Mm-hmm. So Maylin and I had the opportunity to see one of our,
you see the picture?
Icons. Oh my God, that picture was so cute.
So cute. You guys will see it soon.
We need to print it and put it in the office.
Yeah, right there with the awards.
Yes, it's so cute. But honestly, going to the reception and to the panel, I declined it the next day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get a call in the car because she had to focus when she was driving home that day. She know what it is, when Christina has something she don't want to tell me, she avoids me like a plague.
I did not avoid you. You've been busy with Jaira. That's why I honestly knew you had a lot going on with Jaira, and I didn't want to stress you because when I start talking about money and finances and things like that, those are things that we have to talk about in detail for periods of time. And you're exploring your mom journey right now. And I was like, she don't need, this is not that moment. And then if I was going to go through with it, if it was going to happen, which it was supposed to
What was the start day?
The 11th of November. If it was going to happen, I was obviously going to tell you.
Mhm.
But once I decided to decline it, I was like, there's no reason to stress her, right? But I feel like it ties into this conversation.
Does it? Yeah, it sounds real good.
Yeah, because what I feel like the message in all of this was like, in hearing America Fiera and like experiencing what we experienced that day. And then my sister, who is my youngest sister, but has, she's evolving in a way that is just so amazing to watch. Like she's my youngest sister, a mom of 3, has really gotten really rooted in her faith and her marriage, and just learning out loud. Like there's no other way to explain it. I called her, I told her about it, and she said, well, let me ask you this. And I said, okay. She said, is this strictly about money or do you see an opportunity here? And I was like, oh no, this is only about money. I was like, this is about a check. She said, Tina, you're past the check. She's like, so if this is about a check, she's like, this is the wrong path. She said, you just need to lock in, figure out what this amount would have been and what do you need to do just to be able to
what
create
was that
that.
amount better be?
This really wasn't enough.
Oh, I can't wait
all
to
of
hear
the things.
all of the things.
Yes, but when we went to hear America Fiera and we went to the reception, I started walking so Maylin and I got to experience this really cool experience. There was a VIP reception for America Fiera, and if you don't know, I feel like we explained this in one of our past episodes, but
for the new people,
years ago, I want to say it had to have been almost
2013.
I'm so glad you knew that. 2013. Maylin and I were at an event here in Columbus, Ohio, where thousands of women came together, and America Fiera was the keynote speaker. And, the Women's Fund of Central Ohio brought her in. And she was just profound. She talked about women. She talked about community. She talked about advocacy. She talked about, as women the importance of women collaborating and building legacy, and how do we continue to support and uplift, and, just even in her work, how she has been intentional in the projects and the things that she's led. And so listening to her also as a Latina who has, had to really pioneer in a lot of spaces when you think about Hollywood and especially all the things that are coming out now, that if you learn about the entertainment industry that are not very kind to women, not very kind to
men sometimes.
Yeah, even men at that, but definitely not to women, especially Latina women and women who are not, a size 0, which
women of color.
Yeah, so it's just hearing her and her journey and her story, and her family came to this country. Her father passed away at a young age, and just everything she went through to achieve what she's achieved. It really impacted Maylin and I, over 11 years ago now, to be able to go out and start, our own organization to uplift and empower and provide resources and opportunities and experiences for girls and women here in Central Ohio. But from a larger magnitude, even thinking about additional business opportunities, whether it be consulting or what you have here today, True Print for Life. And, we have a project that's going to be launching in the new year, which we'll have more information on. All of that has been inspired in different parts by America.
Yeah.
Fiera, of course. And so a few people have really kind of picked up on those nuggets over the years. And so an individual heard our story or of our story through another person who they had already planned to have America Fiera here for another panel event and invited us as guests. And so there was a VIP reception.
We brought our girls in the afternoon.
Yep. So the girls got to go also hear from her, meet her. They had a fantastic time. Then there was a reception
for adults
at a private residence of one of the funders. And, and you're just in a room full with people and you're like, I don't even know how we got in that room. Like,
Jesus.
The house was like the size of, I can't even tell you.
It was a mansion.
It was a huge mansion, down this long country road. And it was just beautiful. There's no other word to explain it. It was beautiful.
And the owners were beautiful and kind.
So kind, so gracious. we went to the panel.
But
where-
before the panel, we took a picture with her.
yeah, we took a beautiful picture. We had an opportunity to have like a very brief conversation with her about
we
the
told
impact.
her.
Yeah.
But I thought we were gonna do like another group picture from like the afternoon. So I was like, oh, a group picture. Let me get ready, Christina. Let's go. Let's make sure we're like as close as we can by her. And when I see the line, I'm like, interesting. So
Yeah.
it's actually a private picture with just you and I.
Mm-hmm.
This is such a gift come true.
Yes. So we just got the picture yesterday or
So
2
cool.
days ago.
Yeah,
2 days ago, I think,
yeah.
or whenever. So we're going to print that off and put it in our office.
And we'll share with you guys.
Yeah. So, but it was just a really great opportunity to just remind ourselves of just like, well, tomorrow belongs to God.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, like, what I'm doing is bigger than just, a certain amount of money in my account. It's about purpose. It's about impact.
Legacy.
It's about legacy. And so I have to calm my thoughts and the worries that are not sometimes even my worries.
But they're natural.
Yeah.
I think we have to tell people like some of these worries are natural.
Mm-hmm.
It's just what you do with them that I think is important and how
Yeah.
you navigate those. Because worry is what gets people, to lose their minds. It's what gets people to think there's no hope.
Yeah.
But I think when you're blessed enough to have people that will center you, like your sister did, which I can see now some of the conversations we just had 2 days ago are making sense. So she has a lot of wonderful insight. Yes, it's all coming together.
I've been having that conversation with you since the summer.
I know, but I feel like it was a little more intentional 2 days ago, so more fierce a couple days ago.
No, it was like, hey, we're going to do this. So I hope you're ready because it's happening if you're not, whether you're ready or not.
Exactly how that went. And then the other pieces to that. So but it does make sense. It does make sense. And I love that your sister, who is doing amazing in her thing, was able to provide some insight to you, to bring you some peace, right? Because sometimes you don't want to worry your best friend, which we both go through that. Like, I'm not going to tell this. I'm just going to handle this. So we are guilty of that, I think, at some points. But I think it's with the best interest of heart, knowing that we just don't want to worry the other one. And if we can handle it, we handle it. Yeah. And then later we'll tell you like, okay, well, this is what happened. So
this was not a big deal.
Right. As you all know,
it's really fine.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, absolutely, no problem. We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah, but I think to all of this, the point, that I think we're trying to make is that worries are going to happen and is absolutely normal. But that you have to take the steps to create what you need to create now, right? As peaceful as you can. Rest what you can, knowing that tomorrow belongs to God, but there's some certain actions that you got to take today, though, right? Like, I think that's what it comes down to. Like, yes, like somebody said, well, God's going to handle it. Well, yeah.
You still got to prepare.
But you still got to prepare, and you still got to do a couple things to support this, Like, the job is not going to land if you don't send the application, ever apply.
Yeah.
You're not going to win the lotto if you don't play. Like, there's a couple things that God could do for you, but you got to take a step. You got to take an intentional step. I think that's what I keep hearing in some podcasts too.
Yeah. Well, thank you for tuning in. Where we look forward to connecting with you on a future episode. And as we always like to say here at True Print for Life, it's bigger than you.
Thank you so much for listening today. We're excited and we hope that you follow us on
Instagram, True Print for Life, YouTube channel, also True Print for Life. And make sure that you share, like, watch our videos. Make sure that you follow us on all streaming platforms.